Yeah, I think we can just get right into this. How would you explain to somebody what it is that you do? Someone that doesn't know any better. They don't know anything about this non-dual perspective or realization. How would you explain it simply to somebody?
Ooh. Well, I think from the start, we're all searching for something. We're like searching for an answer.
Mm,
And it could appear in different ways for different people. But at the core, it's kind of like we we want to know what this is. Why are we here?
yeah.
Or what's the meaning of life? Or what's my purpose here? Mm, and yeah, there's kind of this yearning to kind of fulfill that answer somehow. So I'm here to tell people that there is no answer.
Mm-hmm.
And something that can happen is that the yearning for an answer can just dissolve.
Uh-huh.
And then what it reveals was is already what was, which is everything, simply everything. And the need to know, the need to get fulfillment, the need to feel good enough, it can dissolve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's wonderful. That brings up the quote for me, Nishragata Maharaj. I think I said his name right. The question of who am I is ultimately meant to dissolve the questioner. That seems to be the essence of what you just said.
Mm. Or it's revealed that there was never a questioner. It was just like a sense that was longing for something other than
Mm-hmm.
this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Simply this. So you reveal that there is nothing to be revealed, but there is a sense of, in all human beings, for some reason, there is a sense of wanting to reveal something, right? Like you said, a yearning for something, a search for maybe some kind of connection, a search for a sense of completeness, right? Fulfillment. There's a lot of different words I guess we could use, a lot of different labels, but it's like a hole that we're trying to fill, right? And you reveal that it's kind of futile to try to fill the hole. So you just dissolve that hole altogether in the act of trying to fill that hole altogether. And in a way, that is a sense of completeness, right? But it's like a sense of completeness that even transcends the idea of trying to become complete. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can say though that even when it was really obvious, not only on the mental level, but energetically, it was quite obvious that this was it, that nothing could fulfill this because it was already complete. There was still the habit and conditioning here from mentally believing that I'm not good enough, that I do need to prove that I am worthy or I need validation somehow,
Mm-hmm.
whatever way that was particular to me. That kept running. And I needed to see that it was innocent. I needed to see that it's not a problem. It still didn't define me. It still wasn't me. There wasn't anyone behind that. It was an energetic sense that has momentum. And by suppressing it and denying it, doesn't do it any good. It actually perpetuates the same conditioning we're given over and over that, yeah, you're right. You're not good enough. You're not important. we're used to that, and it's kind of repeating that again. So I found that actually allowing it to be simply as it is was kind of necessary, you can say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So would you, getting back to like explaining to somebody that doesn't know any better, would you say that's like the that is not the core, but I guess part of the core of what you guide others to? It's that to be okay with what is, whatever is happening with the mind stuff, whatever I guess comes up, whatever comes and goes in the phenomena of our lives. It's to, in one way or the other, be okay with that. And it's like, it doesn't mean shoo it away. It doesn't mean disregard it. But if anything, it's like, see it in a different light,
Mm,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's more like, instead of an absolute identification with it, by hearing, well, it can happen in different ways, but for example, by hearing something like this, that you can't fill that void, never ever, and that this is already home, then there could be like, for lack of a better word, like a shift that does happen from complete identification with this neediness to like, oh, it's just like innocent patterning energy. There can energetically be this expansiveness that takes place,
Yep.
and that edgeless, boundless energy is what you are, not as an entity and not as a thing, not as a solid anything. It's actually empty. So that's all there is. And within that, as that, is this energy that is playing, is
Mm-hmm.
appearing that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Why are we playing? You know, what's this play for? What do you think this show's for?
Yeah, there's just no answer. Um, it becomes clear that we don't know anything. We don't know why this is happening.
The only thing we can know is we know nothing.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Socrates figured that out a long time ago.
Mm,
To know thyself is to know that you will never know thyself. Would you say there's layers to know, though? There's layers to know in this role that we play. You know, within the waves of the grand ocean, there's a sense of knowing how the waves flow, how your wave length flows in this ocean. You know what I mean? Like, we're not ever going to figure it out, but there's probably things that one can figure out in this energetic essence that one uh, pervades, you know?
mm. I do feel like there is, this is all a story, and I don't know what's happening, but just for fun, I do think that there's something beautiful when there is this identification. There's something beautiful about the evolution of like really knowing oneself and uncovering one's uniqueness and letting that shine, letting that come forth. There's something beautiful about that. But I also want to say that it can become another chain of like, oh, I need to like become my best self, or
Yeah.
it can become another burden.
Mm-hmm.
But I just mean in a really gentle way, like that could be the natural movement to really kind of unveil the naturalness that's there, rather than like doing what other people told you you should be and what you should do and how you should appear. So just uncovering for yourself, like, what is genuine here. Um, And it seems like when the identity was really dissolving, like the real stickiness of everything of this body, the functioning, the conditioning and the characteristics, when the identity was really dissolving, it seemed like that was amplified. Like it was really able to be just what it is. And it was a lot more clear what that was, because it just felt horrible to be anything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's like a effortless, genuine sense of flow, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it can. Yeah, it can feel like an effortless flow, and then it's the sense of time can really dissolve as well. So then I wouldn't describe it as a flow anymore. It's just simply what it is.
Yeah,
It's,
because of flow and infers that there is a flowing from one place to another.
Mhm.
Yeah, I see. That's the tricky part about having these kind of conversations. It's that automatically when you have a conversation, you're already caught in paradox in a way. You
Yeah,
know?
it's impossible to not be contradictory constantly.
Yeah. I think that's the fun of this. I mean, essentially, I think you already said something about this. It's like a game or we're having fun, but that's the fun of this essence of the kind of the topic of this conversation, the topic of no topics. It's riding the wave of paradox, you know, and it's like choosing the words wisely and knowing that every word that we choose really doesn't really even matter. But I guess like it's like a game. It's like all games. I mean, games don't matter when you play. You play a game for fun, to be in the midst of the game, right? You don't play to get to the end of the game. So I guess that's, if you want to extend that metaphor to these kind of conversations, it can be like that. It can be looked at as a game. It's a gameless game.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, getting back on your topic of the identity structure, I guess dissolving into the eternal, the boundless. That can become, in my opinion, that can become like another identity. The identity of no identity. That can become like a very grand trap. I see, and I'm speaking from personal experience. In my story, I felt like at one time there was that of like the attempt to dissolve the ego actually um, strengthens the ego even more, you know? And I feel like that's almost like, in a way, that's like the last trap, you know? That seems to be the last trap until you realize that the whole entire journey and story was a little, I don't want to say pointless, because everything has a rhyme and a reason. It doesn't. But it's like, how do I put this? How do I put this? Let me back up a little bit. It's like, in a certain way, speaking from personal experience, you reach like a certain point where, in the story of Gary, I went through, many countless psychedelic experiences, Kundalini yoga classes, just yoga, countless hours of meditation. The list goes on of this journey in the story of Gary, right? Trying to do something. I don't know what he's trying to do, but just trying to, like you said in the beginning, just trying to figure out what the heck all this is, man. Like what's going on? What is this? Right? So through the journey of the self, I came to realize that, like, what was I, there was one point or a few points, maybe even right now, where I was like, wait a second, what was I trying to do the whole time? Where was this destination? Like, there's an idea, I feel like, of a destination that we innately have, like somewhere we got to go, something we got to do, someone we got to be, something we got to become. And it's funny, I have this book, literally, as I said that, Become What You Are by Alan Watts. So like right when that was weird synchronicity, but yeah, that's like, it's like becoming, the essence of the journey seems to me, it's like becoming what we already are. And there's a weird irony in that, right? And just in the formality of that sentence, we're trying to become what we are. And then in a way, when we become what we are, it's like, oh, what was all that for? what was what was I trying to do the whole time, man? Like, come on. And there's a weird joke in that, you know. There's a weird like cosmic grand joke. It seems to be in this whole journey, this whole spiritual journey. It's this for me personally, I could do nothing but laugh. You know, I could just do nothing but just laugh at myself and the ludicrousy of the mystery that we find ourselves in.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It's funny because it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous in so many moments, but yet I also find a sense of peace in that ridiculousness. You know, there's like I don't know. There's like I'm very neutral. There's a certain equanimity, but like I still laugh at the I don't know. It's hard to explain. I still find stuff funny in that equanimity. I know that doesn't really seem to make sense, but there's a certain centeredness, I guess one could say, a center of no centers. But yet I see in that I don't know in the different acts and the different phenomena of life, there is a very lighthearted, joking essence to it. It's hard to explain. I don't really know how else to explain it. Then it's funny. Life becomes somewhat funny.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, I like that.
at least to me. Hey, no, I'm not trying to preach to anybody. I'm not trying to say it to you or anybody. I just find that even the whole journey of the self realization, it's funny. Like, what are we trying? Like we said, what are we trying? What was I trying to figure out the whole time?
I
It doesn't
know.
make any sense.
I know. You kind of see that it wasn't important. Like um it wasn't going to be like this grandiose kind of revelation that you thought. At least I thought that it would be like, you know, I would hear like this is the highest path and I would feel like, yes, I am going to get the answer and I'm going
Yeah.
to I know I always felt like I was going to get something and arrive somewhere. Yeah, and it was devastating when, at least for here, when there was this hopelessness of like, oh shit, like my whole journey, I don't know what I was doing or where I was going, like you said. There was really like oh man, no.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I was lost then. I was like, oh no, what do I do now?
Yeah.
But
What now? That's what now is now though. That's the thing. It's like what now? Now. There is no what now. It's just now. uh,
it's just the reverse side of really feeling like there is a next moment and then
mhm.
feeling the jolt of like this is it, then the ripple, the momentum of like what now, it just needs to be felt and it feels really devastating and uncomfortable, but it's just the other side of it that was never fully confronted because we're always just like moving to the next.
The next thing,
Yeah.
the next identity, the next thing that we try to fill that hole. Like there's always that next thing in the human mind. Hmm.
Exactly. It's so convincing too.
Oh yeah, it has to be. I feel like at one level it has to be convincing in order to. I don't. Yeah, it's like it has to be such a strong illusion in order for us to be able to know that it was an illusion. It's like I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like we have to get lost. In one way, I almost see it's like you have to get lost in the illusion in order to come out the other side and see that it was all an illusion the whole time. Because to me, like maybe this is just me making up stories in my head in another attachment, but I'm like, well, why? We're here now and we can recognize that I'm you, you're me, and the listener. We're all in this one boundless, eternal thing, and that doesn't even do it justice explaining it. And one can come to that realization. But it's like, why did we even have to lose that essence in the first place? And I know you could say that's just another story. We never actually lost it. Well, yeah, I understand that. I definitely understand that. But like in the story of Gary and other people listening, maybe, um, there was that yearning, right? We have that yearning. So like, why? to me, I don't know. This is just maybe part of the grand mystery. It's like, why do we even have to yearn? Why did God decide to separate himself into human beings and forget? It's like, what in a metaphorical sense, it's like, what did God want to experience out of its own separateness? Why was God not satisfied? Why was the one not satisfied with being the one? Why did the one have to separate into the many and forget it was the one so that it could come back into the one? Maybe I'm just making up stories in my head, and like I said, it's another attachment, but that's just something that's just like, it's peculiar to me. It's like, why did that even have to happen? Because now it's like, I realize it was always one the whole time. But it's like, why did I have to go through the struggle? Maybe the struggle and the illusion was so that I could wake up to the one. There could be no other way. It's like our suffering and our separation. We need, like, okay, so let me back up a little bit. This reality works in polar opposites, right? In a way, in a dualistic sense, at first, in that yearning, is because we're caught in the opposites. We're caught in the polarity. So it's almost like, in a sense, bear with me here, God incarnated as a human being in a sense of separateness, in a sense of polarity, to know what it's not, to know what it is. So it's like we need to know what we're not to know what we are, in a way. It's like our story is like figuring out the darkness so that we could see the light in the darkness, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's like, hopefully I'm not like blabbering on, but it's like, I guess the essence of my question, it's like, why is duality even necessary in the first place? And it seems to be needed. It seems to be like we need it in a way to reside as the separateness so that we could almost seem like evolve. It seems like an evolution, and that's true non-duality. It seems like that separateness becoming the one is non-duality, right? Because, okay, I'm blabbering on. I know I am, but I'm gonna try and culminate all my thoughts here. It's like, me and you, we can recognize at one level that we're the same thing, but yet we also have to play our roles here. We have to play this act. Literally, or this is an act right now. This is a show. So it's like we're in God's show. It's like we're in this grand movie, it seems, and the show must go on, and we have to, even when we figure out it's a show, play our roles. Like, there's still the role playing, right? There's still the separateness. Like, even though I know full well all is one, and there's nothing that anything can do or anybody can say that would convince me otherwise. It's like the show still goes on. There's still the happening of Gary Haskins at the moment. There's still the happening of Suzanne. The happening, even though we might not feel completely like we're this entity, there is still the phenomena of what we are, like what we're acting. That to me is the truest sense of this non-dual perspective, right? It's like simultaneous paradox. It's a simultaneous unexplainable paradox that I could just sum up as like, it's God's show. And getting back to it, it's kind of funny. It's like God wanted to make himself laugh. It's like we're the punchline, and the punchline of the joke is when you do figure out, and you have this realization, right? You get that, it's like that spark. That's like when you get a joke, right? It's like a light bulb moment in a way. Something connects, and it seems like what connects for us is our separateness connecting to the whole. We're just God's joke. I hope that made sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know what you want to draw off on that, to be honest. I appreciate you
Yeah.
listening.
I don't feel like I'm playing a role, though. It feels like it's just what's happening. And I don't know why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like it feels right for here, I guess. It's not really interpreted, I think.
Well, let me say this though. It's interpreted by me and everybody else. So like even though it's your perspective isn't playing a role, and I understand exactly what you're saying, you're more real to other people than you are to yourself. You
I
know what
got
I
you.
mean? And that's the trippy part. So it's like, but even then you could say like, well, those people aren't real either. But it's like, well, okay, I get that, but it's
That's their experience. Yeah.
yeah. So it's like that's I guess that's what I was getting at in the role thing, right? We're a show to the outside world. We're not the center of the universe. You know, if that makes sense. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it does. Yeah. You're right. Like there's an understanding that from another's perspective, this probably seems solid and real, like an actual entity.
Yeah.
But from here, it does seem like there's no one anywhere, and
Hmm.
it's just everything, and it doesn't feel like a play anymore. It's I literally don't know what's happening, and there's no ability to attempt to even believe anything that the mind will construct.
Yeah. So the idea of a show or a play or God's joke to the person that we see as Susan, it doesn't hold any weight. It doesn't mean anything, right? Is what you're getting at. I know what you mean. Hmm. So on that note, though, I feel like once one can get that glimpse of the infinite, right, and get that glimpse of the seeming grand mystery that one can never figure out. One is, there is really the eternalness, the infinite, the ultimate sense that one can realize comes a different kind of orientation in how one's actions proceeds from that realization. You know what I mean? And even though to you or me it might not feel different because it's all one moment, there is no past or future, right? But to that other person, to the seeming other vantage point of consciousness, the other seeming neuron in the one mind, it may see you or me as different acts in the play, right? It may see that the action becoming a little bit different, like a different kind of flavor, I guess, to one's energy, you could say. And it's ironic and it's kind of funny because me and you, what we do, our action is in the play is guiding others in a way to show that they're in the play, right? So there's a weird irony and joke to that. But that doesn't have to be for everybody, right? Obviously, that's not for everybody. So let me ask you this: what would you say, just to an outside point of view, to me? What would you say is different in your actions or possibly other people's actions that you've witnessed when they have this grand realization of non-duality and ultimate just connection to everything and nothing?
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, how does it alter their actions or something?
Yeah, like how, because I do feel as though there is something that changes in somebody, and I know we can say nothing changes, there is nothing to ever change, but I do feel as though from people that I spoke to in personal experience, there's a kind of there's a certain way that we live differently in this. Maybe one can say it's like the eightfold path in a way. It doesn't, you don't have to go down that model, but there's a different kind of path to walk in the act of life. Maybe you can disagree with me and say there's not, but from what I've witnessed, it's like a different kind of orientation in our actions and how we discern this the things that come in the phenomena of life, and from that different kind of discernment is a different kind of way to act in the world. So would you agree or disagree with that?
Mm. Yeah. I really do think it's going to vary. And this is also quite new here. So, um, but what I can say, I feel like, okay, if I had to just attempt to describe what was happening here,
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay if this ends now. So I'm okay if this so-called body, I'm okay if it all ends now, because there is this sense that it's not really ending. It's still going to be everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that does change how the body acts. It's not acting from a personal desire anymore. It's more like either it subtly feels good or feels right. And there was a refinement that is happening where I can't help but be honest. I can't help but be genuinely myself, or, how the body is.
Mm-hmm.
I can't help but want to sort of be available for others and kind of see where they're at. And whatever response comes, there is a trust that it's not the right thing to say, because there never is, but there is kind of a trust in a way. But I can also say that there are very, that's why I say this can vary, because like my partner right now, he just has a normal job, has a very normal life, isn't doing anything like this, and doesn't care to right now. So it varies. Like I feel like since I was like a young child, this is how it was. Like I deeply kind of cared for others. But now it feels like it's not from a need for validation or a need to save anyone. It seems like it's just what's happening. It's like really neutral.
I see. Yeah. So there is a authentic sense of, it seems to me like an authentic sense of wanting to help people without appearing as the helper, right? From what you described, it seems like you said you hold space for others, right? Now,
Yeah, and it's also a knowing that I don't know what's best for others, because no one does. And there's also knowing that actually that other, what you can point them to is just you already know, and it's just kind of unveiling what's covering that,
Mm-hmm. What do you think covers that in your experience? What would you say covers what we already know? Is it our desires? Is it our attachment to the bodily pleasures and pains, the comings and goings of the story? Is it our attachment to the story?
I think that is probably a big part of it, because it's so innocent that when you feel separate, it's coming from a place of insecurity, just naturally, a feeling of unsafety. Like I'm separate from everything. It's a very vulnerable place to be. And so because of that, we learn to mask that vulnerability and try to get safety elsewhere by becoming something, appearing a certain way, being more confident, getting a partner, more money. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's not that those things can't appear, but when there is this real need for it, you can call it attachment, because you feel that base sense of unsafety. Then yeah, your so-called authenticity, or what's just simply there, will be a little manipulated, understandably,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah. Would you say we're all yearning for the same thing? Like we're all, even though it's not a thing, I know it's not. But that yearning is the same yearning for, like, it's, we all have that similarity of yearning, that wanting to come back to that God essence, that oneness. Would you say that's similar to every single human being? Yet we don't we try to do it through the body. We try to do it through our pleasures, through our like you said, trying to get a car or a partner or a nice house or whatever it is. And that's all good. That's all going to happen. That's grand. That's just life, man. That's all part of the play, right? But it's the fact that we try to find that permanent sense of connection in those impermanent things. And that leads essentially to more yearning, more suffering, right? So would you say that is, it's just like we have misplaced priorities, right? It's like we try to find that yearning, that aspect that we all have. We try to find that in things that will never fill that cup, right? So would you say we all have the same cup? Right? The same thing we're trying to fill in our hearts?
Mm. Yeah, I would say that ultimately every yearning, um, it is yearning for a complete merging into everything.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, because I can sense that with people around me who have no interest in this at all, and they're just chasing the other stuff. It is all chasing God.
Yeah. Mm.
But I see nothing wrong with that anymore. It's so I see nothing wrong with seeking. Um, because in a way, what it felt to lose everything, like the complete end of seeking is the loss of your entire world, or what you knew to be your entire world. So to go through something like that is not like necessarily an easy thing, because it's really popping of a bubble of a certain type of existence, and then beyond it there is just beauty and safety, and it is actually okay. But to pop that bubble is quite a big thing. So if people are seeking and like having pleasure and actually enjoying that, I don't see anything wrong with it.
I agree. Yeah, that could also be part of the path. That's also God. It's like, don't deny one's desires, because that's just another attachment. Don't deny that. That could just be another trap in itself. You have to just be genuine, I guess. That bubble that pops is the bubble that pops to a sense of genuine humanness. I see it. But how do we? I know there's no cookie cutter explanation of this. But we can try and talk about it. How does one pop this bubble? Is it divine grace? Where does this bubble popping stem from? Would you say?
Mm, yeah, again, it's just gonna vary, but um, I feel like most of the spiritual path is yearning that's directed toward this rather than the other stuff. Um, and then you get to a point where you kind of see that you cannot do it. You cannot surrender. Um,
Yeah, that's interesting.
And there can be a shift in like one way or another, this relinquishing of your own personal will, because your will cannot get rid of that will, if that makes sense. The sense of control cannot get rid of the sense of control.
Yeah.
So there, you know, there can be either a sudden collapse or a subtle collapse that happens, and then it can be seen that holy shit, life is doing everything.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. You can't try to surrender. Yeah. But in that holy shit moment comes an obligatory surrender, I feel like. It's like it doesn't come from the surrender, but after the holy shit, it's like you said, like I don't know what's going on. None of this is in my control. I gotta surrender to said flow, to this experience as best as you can. But you can't try. That's the thing. It's like it's already fault in my words just saying that as best as you can. It's like there is no as best as you can. There is no trying to surrender. Like you said, I like that. It's the will that goes beyond will. You can't will to have no will. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Peculiar. These conversations, they always, I don't know, they get me feeling some type of way.
What type of way?
I don't know. It's connected. You know what it makes me feel? Um, in this surrender to the here and now in the moment, I feel if one could use another synonym to it, there is this somehow, some way, a sense of unconditional love. Love in just the experience, somehow, in one way or the other. And it's love that's beyond the concept of love, especially in the way that we use love in our world. It's just like this. It's unbound love. In a way, it's like I know it's not this. It could be another trap to say that I am love, but it's like there is something in me that says that is like a higher essence of what you are. And I know that could be, in my words, can be looked at as another trap, but it almost feels like what I am, what you are, what the listener is in the future. Somehow we're all in that unity, that unbound unity is what glues it together is this energy of love. And it's very profound. Obviously, my words aren't doing it justice. I can't convey that through a subject object orientation. But if you know, you know. It's something that just like feels right. I don't know how else to explain it. There's just like in this moment, this here and now, the everlasting moment that always was, always is, always will be, is is love. Um, I don't know how else to explain it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is like all there is this unconditional love, and it's not knowable, it just is. And it's clear that it was always the only so-called real thing in a sense. And it's obvious that actually I've never loved anyone as a person.
Mm.
Um, it's a beautiful experience that can happen, and man, it could feel amazing and also horrible sometimes. But beyond that, beyond um, in I guess in the absence of that experience, it is unbound love.
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting in our terminology, in the popular way that we say it, like I fell in love with this person. It's not like, yeah, we say I love you and you love me, but it's like together we fell in this love. Like that we fell in the ocean of love. It's almost like it's a separate thing that we become when you fall in love with somebody. I feel like that's a very accurate description to what we're getting at. it's an interesting thing. I never heard anybody say it's like you never loved anybody, because that is conditional in a way, right? This true unconditional love is beyond all conditions of the body, all conditions of you and me. It's this thing that we melt into and we become one together. We fall in love. I hope that made sense. You know what I mean?
And yeah,
Yeah.
it's a complete merging.
Merging, exactly. Yeah. It's a complete merging. It's so beautiful, right? So beautiful.
Yeah. So when I talk to my partner, like he lives overseas, so we just talk on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm talking to myself, but not, but like it kind of is.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not separate, He's not over there.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you seeming two minds exist in this one sphere that almost seems to transcend all duality. Like love, in a way, if two or more people, ideally everybody, gets on this wavelength of this loving wavelength, it's like we exist almost in a way in a higher dimension. It's like love is comes from somewhere else. You know what I mean? Love almost seems alien, even though it's not. I obviously know it's not. It's just me kind of making a joke. But you know what I'm getting at? It's like love almost seems like this thing that is like everything is encompassed in love, right? It's like everything here, all phenomena, all matter is encompassed in love. And love is everything and isn't everything here. But yet all phenomena here, it stems from that. And when we resonate on that with another person or for ourselves, whatever it is, it's like that's how we truly transcend this separation. It's almost like, in a way, we take ourselves out of this idea of just me and the five senses and all the goings on of the body, and we touch upon that umbrella of love that everything is in, nothing is contained in. And in a way, that's how we transcend the dimensions in a way. That's why I said it's like alien. Even though, like I said, it's not. It's the most unalien thing. it's the most pure and natural state that we all are. But it's like through the separation, that's when you can find that. And love is that, like I said, it's that essence of seeing through the separation somehow, some way. It's transcending. It's God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. Love is the way. That's how I like to say it, you know. When in doubt, just follow the heart, man. We all have it. We all got a heart. I think that's the future, ideally, even though there is no future. But I do foresee some kind of world, maybe in this lifetime, probably not, but maybe in the future, just like somewhere, just where I just feel the love, you know. I feel that heaven, the kingdom of heaven is within. I just feel that. Like I feel it's some kind of possibility. And someone may call me a crazy idealist, and I know you need the polarity, you need the yin and yang, but there's something in me that like yearns for that heaven-like state. And maybe it's just like, maybe that is the yearning that we spoke about in a way. Maybe that yearning that we all feel is like our yearning of this so-called heaven, however you picture it, but it's really like that so-called heaven is not in the future. It's not of a different realm. It's not anywhere else but here, literally in our hearts. Maybe that's what we feel. This yearning is for like the sense of how it could be, it should be, and really how it is. Really, this is heaven. That's the thing. I think, right? It's like, it's hard to say, obviously, because there's so much darkness, right? There's so much darkness that we can witness on Fox News or TikTok or whatever. But it's like, in actuality, when you can see through all those very strong illusions of fear, one can come to find that we're already in this heaven-like state. It's already heaven. Maybe that's the yearning. We're all looking to uncover the great revelation that it's not after we die. It's right here in this exact moment. Heaven is now. And it only is revealed when we when we, I don't know, do nothing at all. When we try to stop being something we're not, when we try to make it not heaven. And that's how we got ourselves into this calamity, because we're trying to be something greater than everything, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? We're trying to make something out of heaven. It's already heaven. We're trying to force it, man. But you can't. It's all here, it's all right now. Yeah. Yeah. That's how I'm feeling today. Well, I don't know. I guess on that note, we can probably start to wrap this thing up. To be honest, it's heaven is here and now, and I know that doesn't negate anyone's suffering. That doesn't negate anyone's darkness in life and the pain that we go through. But I guess it's like, I don't know. Just take my word for it. I don't know what else to say. It's like there's hope. Maybe this I don't know, because it's like I say these things, right, and they sound very grandiose. Heaven is here and now, but on the other side of this microphone, I can recognize that there's somebody going through a lot of pain and suffering, and they're like, Gary, what are you talking about, man? Like I'm hurting. I'm hurting mentally, physically. Like what are you talking about? It's heaven, and I don't know what else to say to that. I wouldn't know how to respond to that other than it's like, it's true, man. Maybe see that it's all temporary. All of our pain, all of our suffering that anybody can go through, whatever it is, any malady of the body, mind, of the physical vessel that we find ourselves in, it's all temporary. Anika. No matter what we go through, it's all going to come to pass. To me, that if there's no attachment to the body and of the mind, that is grace. That no matter what happens in our life, it's not real. It's not real, man. It's real in one sense, but at the end of the day, it's going to come to pass. It's going to flow in the river of time away, just like anything else. And it really doesn't mean anything.
Mm.
And that doesn't help anybody who is hurting right now and sick, I guess, but it's the truth. It really is the truth. I would never say that to somebody who is like in the hospital bed. Like, hey man, don't worry about it. None of this is real. But it really is the truth that we can all find in this temporary nature of this physical vessel. To me, that's grace. To know that it's all gonna come to pass, man. Yeah, okay. So I think we could probably start to wrap it up on that note. You got any last words, or you want to just keep it at that?
Yeah, I don't know anything. All I can say
Either.
is that,
I know nothing.
yeah, if I don't know what's going on here. If I saw someone suffering in front of me,
Mm-hmm.
I would just respond, you know, and yeah, probably just normally. Like,
Yeah.
I don't believe in any way of being, or you don't have to believe anything. It's just what it is, and I understand that it's painful. It's okay.
Yeah. It's okay to be in pain. That's a tough one, but it's true. It's okay to suffer. But in that way, it's like it eases the suffering in a way. Makes the suffering a little bit more bearable, if that makes sense. It's okay to not be okay. We've all heard that before.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, you know what? On that note, I think we can probably wrap it up. I appreciate your time, effort, and wisdom. And
Wonderful to meet you.
yeah, you as well. I think this is a very, I don't know, insightful convo for me. I thank you for allowing me to blabber on and go on some rants that I mean, maybe they made sense, maybe they didn't. I don't know. But yeah, thank you anybody in the future that listened this long, and I wish you all the best, Suzanne.
Yeah. Thanks so much for inviting me. It was a pleasure.
For sure. Peace out.
Right.
Bye bye.